All right. Well, the last partner we have presenting today is a school district, and really excited that we have not only a program leader, you might call her, so assistant superintendent in the district, but also two clinical professors, coaches from the district as well. And so I'll turn it over to Diane, who's the assistant superintendent, to kind of kick us off.
Fantastic. So we are located about 30 minutes north of Denver. We have 32,000 students in our school district, and we hire about 200 teachers annually. So we're definitely going to have to connect with Radford University. We'll gladly take those 200 that you produce, because we need them. And I'd say out of the 200 a year that we hire, 50 are brand new, never taught before teachers. So we have a pretty robust induction program. As our two universities colleagues shared, the learning continues when you're a novice teacher in that first year. And because of so many of the shifts in the learning requirements that are happening presently, we found that video is truly helping us accelerate professional growth. So go ahead if you would like to advance the slide. We really feel like we are living in an era of exponential change. And we, while probably maybe even 5 years ago, 10 years ago, we felt like we could take time to really groom our new teachers. We want our new teachers to feel successful much more swiftly in the past. We really want to instill those mindsets and skill sets of master teachers early on so that they are on par with their veteran colleagues in a much more accelerated way. And if you could go to the next slide, there's really kind of the reason why. Many of the districts, I'm certain across the nation, are feeling the teacher shortage, especially in the area of special education, science, math. And so it's critical that the teachers that we do hire, we keep and we retain. We are a one-to-one district, so we have iPads in our classrooms. The students use them, they take them home. We have a digital curriculum. There's always new technology upgrades happening. We need our teachers to be able to assimilate quickly and to be able to use these new tools at an ongoing pace. In the last 5-6 years, we've had new state standards. We've had new state assessments. We have a new teacher evaluation system. And so all of these things are creating a context where not only do we need to accelerate growth and learning for our new novice teachers, but we need to do so with our veterans across the district. And so 3 years ago, when we began video coaching, using a lot of the same tools focused on teaching Jim Knight's work, a lot of Sharon's work around the power of noticing. That's really what inspired us to get into this work of video coaching. It was so great to hear you talk about your UACT program. We feel like our university partners are using video. They're doing such a tremendous job of doing that, and students already have those habits when they come to a district. Rather than letting them drop those very good habits, we want to keep it going and spread it across the district. So if you could go to the next slide. We're going to talk a little bit about how our coaching used to feel without the video and what it's like now.
Hi everyone, this is Richie. And before video, we used to go into our weekly coaching classrooms, and we would sit there and take notes, and we would then have our reflecting conversation. But a lot of it was pulled from our memory, so it was very subjective because we didn't have the ability to really see what was going on. So if you would go to the next slide. With the hyper-accelerated, and the use of video, we use it in multiple ways because like Diane said, our goal is to have the mindset of mastery teachers. We used to hear people say, well, we have a couple years to get there. That's not the case anymore. So we use it with our mentor teachers that are paired up with our novice too. That allows them to have the ability to do the video, have the conversation where they don't have to meet face-to-face like before the video. Our induction academies, like Diane mentioned, we have 50 to 60, and we have it set up where we have groups assigned where our coachee is in a group with us, or is with the elective or secondary or elementary. So they have the opportunity to observe their peers and see best practices and have the opportunity to make comments. Also, we have the Partners in Education. That is the pipeline with CU Boulder. Again, Diane mentioned how they come to us with the ability with technology. We expand on that. So our seminars, we always begin our seminars by looking at a video that they have taken recently in their class. It's always connected to the skill that we are focused on. So if it is, for example, let's talk about student engagement, our kids are asked to videotape what their classroom looks like with their students engaged. They come in, they all sit down, they all observe 2 to 3 of the cohort's videos and make those comments. So it's very powerful to build collaboration and hone in on best practices. One more example before we move to the next slide. We have a preschool, Spark Preschool, and it is just preschool, and the teachers and the principal decided that they need to improve math. So they brought in a new math program, and without having the ability to have subs, and they were trying to be creative to get into each other's room, but it was very complicated. So they brought in Athena, and this has allowed them to videotape each other teaching a particular math skill. They have also set it up so when they come into their staff meeting, they all sit down and they have the opportunity to view the video together and make comments. Next slide, please. Teachers see each other teach. Again, in the past, we used to have the ability to go out and have substitutes come in and we could take our teachers. Our belief is to keep the classroom teachers in the room. So having the video allows our teachers to go across district. So if we know that we have a teacher in our coaching realm, if we have a teacher in one elementary building that really is an exemplar teacher with small reading groups, we are able to share that video in Athena with the teacher across district. Teachers reflect and share their practice. Again, that is growing a common language, a common vision of what the best practice is throughout the district. Lesson studies. We have a building that used to do the flip camera with lesson study. Now with the use of Athena, it is simplified. The way that looks is I'm going to target a first grade group. They will sit down and they will do their planning together, knowing what they want to have look for when they're videotaped. So going into teaching that lesson, the video camera's on. It's videotaped. The teacher that is videotaped will say, I would really like feedback on minutes 3 through 6. Their teammates will go back. They will go ahead and look up 3 through 6 and make comments on that. It's very specific to what the teachers need. But having the whole lesson videotaped, if the teachers want to see the whole lesson, that allows the opportunity for that to happen. So it's a release of control, and it really gives empowerment of the relationship in that setting. So now David's going to continue on.
Good afternoon. This is David Baker. One of the reasons we've noticed that video is accelerating our teacher practice is that video gives a way for teachers to scaffold thinking. Often what happens when you're teaching a lesson is you think you've said something or been specific, and we think of the lesson as we imagined it, as we were planning it, not always in the reality for all the students. And so video gives us a framework to examine what happened in the classroom, as well as know what we anticipated would happen. And we can watch it for how was my management, how was my instruction, how was student engagement. And so teachers can look at one situation in their classroom, use that in multiple ways to see how all their practice is integrated into an effective classroom of learning. Once they begin to notice that, those patterns begin to evolve, and video gives teachers a chance to say, what led up to this? What did I have control of? How can I scaffold this in new ways? It increases a teacher's ability to notice many of the subtleties that help make a classroom run smoothly and help students learn effectively. It also allows the teacher to have an eye on their students. Often our teachers will start out videotaping themselves as they're a little bit uncertain of how am I doing as a teacher, but they begin to look at saying, my teaching is reflected in what my students are doing, and so they start to use the eyes of what my students are doing as a lens for what am I doing as a teacher. So they connect their instruction to student learning, and they're starting to see what are the things that I do that help my students be most effective as we're dealing with more and more complex skills, as students are doing higher levels of learning, as students are working together in a variety of ways, as we're using technology. In all of the ways that teaching is changing rapidly, teachers need to be able to have an eye, an ability to observe what's happening with sophistication, to be able to step back from the instruction because we can't see it all at the same time in class, but be able to step back and say, did what I wanted to have happen actually happen in my classroom? And so the video gives us a scaffold to think about it. It gives us a way to notice patterns and then connect that to the learning that our students are doing. Next slide, please. This is an example of a coaching conversation that just happened last week with, we were out of town at a conference, and my teacher was giving a quiz, and this was the quiz preparation time. He and I had an ongoing conversation about this, and the question was, what was going on in your classroom? What did you expect? What did you anticipate was going to happen, and what really happened? And we had that ongoing look at why the kids chose what they did. And what this teacher found is he anticipated the kids would group themselves up, but they had a great level of confidence in their skills, and they had no desire to work in groups other than a few that ran into initial problems. But this gave us a chance to really focus on direct instructional practice. Next slide, please. I'd like to tell you about Stephen. Stephen was a teacher who was an excellent young first-year teacher, but he had that class right after lunch. These were sixth graders. They started out the year pretty good. Partway through the year, it didn't get so good right after lunch as they're coming back, as sixth graders are prone to do. Well, we started taking video and watching this, and the first day he said, I just don't know why class is getting so slow. So we just turned on the video. It took 12 minutes from the time they walked in to actually do anything, and yes, there was a student standing on the desk. In the first picture, you see a locker being opened. If you saw the rest of the video, the young man proceeded to open 5 other lockers. And many of the students were gathered around the teacher asking questions. Stephen was at the point where the principal said, he's a great young teacher, but I'm worried about his classroom management. Not first thing in the morning, but right after lunch, and it was an indicator of that something needed to be refined. We showed the video to Stephen. After about 2 minutes, he was squirming uncontrollably. After 4 minutes, it was getting painful. The coaching conversation at that point became, what do you want your classroom to look like? Next slide, please. We continued to videotape that same group of students at the same period of time, continued to refine what Stephen was doing. And his students at the end of that 3 weeks were able to transition, come into the room, get their materials out. He started on their warm-up in under 1 minute, and he went from having the principal saying, "Good young teacher, but I'm concerned," to, "This is one of my young stars growing in my building." And he is still with us in our district and is teaching now at the high school level, but is able to do amazing things with his students because he saw that there was a problem. He saw the change that he needed to make, and through video was able to see the progression each and every time. It wasn't me saying it to him. It was Stephen identifying. The coaching helped him clarify what he needed to do. But we saw the evidence when we could sit down at the end of, boy, what did it look like at the beginning? What are the changes? What's happening now? And then we got to the end. At the end, he was a very successful teacher. Next slide, please. One of our key beliefs is that teachers seeing themselves empowers them to adapt to the learning needs of their students, and it's building those habits of self-direction. In the beginning, first picture that we showed, as well as this slide, we actually have coaches that are working with classroom teachers. Not only have they commented in Athena on it, but then they're having other conversations face-to-face. Video is the third point, allowing us to become self-directed, to really think deeply. So whether you're a brand new novice 1 teacher coming fresh out of college, whether you're coming to our district with a few years of experience, whether you're an experienced teacher just wanting to refine your practices, we have over 150 users in our district, all taking the time to reflect on practice, help each other grow, and grow as professionals meeting the needs of our students. Next slide. If you have questions, we would love to answer them.
Great. There's a couple questions. Where does video coaching fit in the context of a state with a highly developed evaluation system?
That's a great question. In our district, we are just exploring the opportunity to use peer observation. And so currently our coaching is external from the evaluation process. Our coaches are not evaluators. Our principals are the evaluators. Teachers can use the video that they have archived as evidence of their practice, so they can bring in their principal into the portal to take a look at the evidence. But in our district, it is the teacher that invites the principal in to look at the video evidence.
Great. Let's see. So like video is a switch from typical ways of doing PD at the district level. Has this spread beyond the new teachers in the district?
Yes, absolutely. And our first year, we were really incubating the use of video with our inductees, and immediately teachers in the building were noticing what was happening. And so our coaches who worked with the new teachers, maybe there was a third grade partner who would say, wow, can I do that too? And so even though we were coaching a brand new third grade teacher, we would say, sure, let's be part of a group and we can work together. So we started to see that spread. Stephen, who David mentioned, his second year as a teacher, because he had been engaged in this video work with his middle school team of teachers, they kept talking about how they would love to see each other teach. He was a math teacher. He worked with the science, the social studies, the language arts teacher. David said, well, let me give you Athena accounts and you can all videotape each other and give each other feedback. They were ecstatic. So now we have 4 of our schools who are using in their building professional development to propel inquiry studies, whether it's lesson study like Richie was talking about at one of the schools, math professional development school goal at Spark Preschool, or student voice and choice at one of our middle schools. We're also using Edsena this year in video, the portal, to help implement our brand new literacy English language arts curriculum, and kind of using those components to bring in some of the model exemplar teachers watching that, implementing the new literacy curriculum, uploading their own videos, and then as a circle of practice, giving each other feedback.
Fantastic. Any further questions? Okay, one more. We got. You mentioned that retaining teachers is a top priority. Are you noticing any patterns of teachers reporting that they feel more supported and retained in their roles?
That's a great question. You know, we're fortunate to have pretty high rates of retention already, and I think that what we're finding, and this is why we're transitioning more of the video work to some of our novice 2 teachers. We feel like our brand new teachers that come in with 0 years of experience, our novice teachers, that we're doing a lot of this video support and one-on-one coaching, they are very strong after that first year. But we're kind of turning our attention now to the teachers that we hire that come in with between 1 and 2 years experience. David is working with their mentors. They don't have coaches, and mentors are full-time teachers, so they don't get released to go and work with them, observe them very much, and support their work. And so we're really hoping to refine the use of video so that we can increase the efficacy and effectiveness of our novice 2 teachers.
Well, and another question that kind of connects with that idea in terms of the system that's supporting all the teachers, do any of the faculty members or school coaches use Edsena to improve their own professional practices?
Absolutely. Mirroring our 2 university colleagues that spoke, we have our learning coaches that are embedded in the school and our clinical professors here. They regularly videotape their coaching conversations. They videotape when they do professional development face-to-face training. And so we have the opportunity to give each other feedback on our professional development skills and techniques.
Well, fantastic. Thank you very much. Any further questions? The person who just asked that question about faculty using to improve their own practices said, you learn to do the work by doing the work, a quote from Richard Elmore. Thank you, Irv.
There you go.
Any further questions? Well, I think that's going to be an opportunity. We're getting pretty close to time. Adam, did you want to add anything to the end here?
Yeah, very quickly, I just want to kind of frame up, why we felt it was so important to bring our partners to this webinar. Thank you, everyone, for your time, of course. But, as individuals with roles in state departments of education, there's a huge opportunity to be explicit about the use of video and encourage its use within your schools of education and teacher education programs, as well as within the school districts. I think out there's a lot of people that believe video could be powerful, and with some, let's call it guidance language, I would imagine that we would see the adoption of video accelerate across our teacher education programs and districts across the country. So I think there's a huge opportunity here as state-level decision makers, and I hope that this has been helpful. If there's anything that I can be helpful in answering questions about what we've seen across the country, please feel free to contact me as well.
Great. And again, this has all been really relevant in terms of the conversations where we're touching on issues of shortages and trying to retain teachers. But also, it was that map from the Washington State example where you're able to kind of spread your influence across a very large state into rural areas as well. And so all of this very relevant and really important. So thank you to all the presenters and to Adam for bringing everyone together. We really appreciate it. And we hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. The recording will be available once I have it in my inbox. I'll send it out. And if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Feel free to reach out to Adam. And we thank you all and hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.